Hi, this is Cindy from Vintage to New with a video tutorial. Today I'm going to talk about getting started with a sewing machine, what you need to know before you start sewing. I'm going to be using my old white sewing machine. I have a really fancy Bernina, but I call it the Little Princess. It's delicate and it has all kinds of things that you need to know about it, and the dealer where you bought it will teach you all those things. This one is probably from the early 70s. It will do anything, and her name is Betty White. And she's strong, dependable, and she can do anything. So my first tip, if you're given a machine, an older machine like Betty here, take it in and have it serviced at a sewing machine repair place. It'll cost you, here it costs about $100, but they will adjust the timing, they will clean it, oil it, get the tensions all correct, and you'll be starting from a good place. Also, if you're given a machine, you're not sure how much it had been used, or if there's any real problems with it, and when they get in and start doing the cleaning and adjusting and all that, they can tell you if something needs to be replaced. You'll save yourself a lot of frustration. Okay, let's start looking at the parts of your machine. This over here is the hand wheel, or it has lots of names. You always turn it back towards you this way, okay? On newer fancy machines, you can push a button and it will stop with your needle down in the down position, and that's very important at certain points when you're sewing. On this machine, you just sew along, and however it stops, then you turn it so that the needle is down in your fabric. So that's this here. Most machines, not all, but most machines will do a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch. Every machine, older machine, is a little different on where those are, but you need to find out on your machine where you can shorten the length of your stitch or lengthen the length of your stitch. That's very important. And then how big you want your zigzag to be. So there's that. Some machines will have a button here or someplace else for reverse. This one is here. So if I want to back up to back tack, I have to back it up there. Not every older machine, but some older machines have a place where you can let your feed dogs down. And the feed dogs are those little teeth that go like this under your machine that feed your fabric through under the presser foot. This is the presser foot. On this machine, it's right here. I turn it all the way over. My feed dogs are down, and you would use that in certain applications for sewing. So your machine may or may not have that. My old Singer does not have that. This is the little knob that controls the tension on your thread. So when your machine is threaded, it comes down through here. You can tighten and loosen the tension on your thread. Now, like I said, take your machine in and have it adjusted. There are some times that you will want to tighten or loosen your tension on your thread, but for the most part, you kind of find a happy place and it stays there most of the time. And that adjustment is really good to have to start out with. So let me talk to you about getting your machine threaded. Okay, you may or may not know this, but thread, it comes in all different kinds. There's cotton thread, polyester thread, rayon thread. I'm not going to get into all that right now. That's for more advanced sewing. But let's just say you're going to want to start sewing with just some regular thread. Look at the way the thread is wrapped on this spool. You see how it's just spun around this way, all right? And then look at this one. Do you see how it's spun on in a design? It's not straight sewn or spun on. So this one on a regular sewing machine will just pull off like this just fine, okay? On your newer machines, some of them have a spool pin where you put your spool of thread that's horizontal, not vertical. And that's for thread like this, that's wrapped on like this, because it wants to come off this way, not so much this way, okay? So if you don't have the option of the horizontal pin, you can still get by with this on an older machine. They tend to do okay, but if you find your machine isn't working really well with this kind of thread that's spun on that way, go back to the kind that was around when your sewing machine was made, which is like this. All right, now this one you might be tempted to just stick it on top of your spool pin and use it too, but it definitely is not made for going on the back of your machine. It's made for going on a stand like this, okay? And I use spool thread like this on my machine all the time. So it just goes down and whoop, up through the thing and into your machine. So anyway, pick the right thread for your machine. Here's the spool pins on my sewing machine. They have these nice little felt things down here which keeps it from getting bound up, and when you go in and have your machine serviced, they'll make sure that you have nice new ones of those. The reason I have two, I'm pretty sure, is if you do a double needle, you need to have two spools of thread. I would say most machines only have one, so to do a double needle, that's a trickier thing, and we'll get into that some other time. So anyway, I pick this one and stick your thread on there. Okay, this little tip that I'm going to tell you is something that I'm ashamed to say I didn't know for years and years of sewing. When you thread your machine, your presser foot needs to be up. Okay, push the presser foot up. What that does, when your presser foot is up, there's two little discs inside of this tension knob here, and it opens them up. When you push it down, it's applying pressure. It's squeezing the thread as it goes through there to get the proper amount of tension on that thread to go through your machine. So if you try to thread it with your presser foot down, you're not going to get it threaded through here correctly, and that will cause all kinds of trouble. So presser foot up. All right, so for my machine, there's two little knobs up here, two little holders, and they're like little pigtails, and you just run your thread through those little pigtails so that it's caught. Pretty simple, okay? Almost every machine has a tension disc down here, and you come down and you get your thread to go between those two discs, and then you put a little pressure up here and you pull your thread up. All right, let me get closer so you can see that. Okay, so I have my thread coming down. It goes in between those two discs that are right there. I hold the thread at the top like I did before. Do you see this little paper clip looking bail right there? You pull up until your thread comes up and around this little piece that's right here. Almost all sewing machines have that, and that's a properly threaded tension. Okay, then it's real simple. You bring the little piece right here so that's all the way to the top, and this one doesn't have an opening. I have to actually thread it through like that. Some of them you can just slide it in. I come down, there's a little place here, there's a little hook inside here, and then there's a hook right here at my needle. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there and then talk with a little bit about needles. Okay, when you start sewing, you need to decide what kind of needle that you want for your project. If you're going to be doing knits, you need to have a stretch needle or a ball point needle. they're rounded, not super pointed at the end. You can't really see it with your eyes, but they're rounded. So a knit needle goes down in between the layers. It doesn't split them. If you do a regular needle, like this jeans needle here, so like if you were sewing denim, it's very thick, it's really big. It's a size 16, which, for example, this little universal needle here is a 10, so it's very fine. So you'd be doing very fine work with that, with possibly some lightweight knit or lightweight woven fabric. This is big and heavy, and it will go down through denim, and you'll notice it's got a very sharp point on it, and it splits down in between all the fibers. So pick the needle that fits the job that you're going to do. Now, the other thing about a sewing machine needle that you need to know, and this is for almost all home sewing machines that I know of, all right, I don't know if you can see this, it's rounded in the front and it's square in the back. I don't know if you can see it or not. Just take my word for it. The back of it is flat. The front of it is round. When you put it in your machine, if you have a machine that, like most home machines, some of the older ones I've heard go in sideways, but let's just stick with this for today. The flat part of the needle goes in the back, the rounded part goes in the front. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so here's my needle, and I've made sure that the flat part faces back that way, goes down and up and in, and you unhook this until your needle freely moves in there, because you want to push it all the way up, and then you tighten this down, and you tighten it good and tight. So that needle is very securely put in there, and then you just thread from the front to the back, like so, okay? So now we have threaded our machine. Now, my one suggestion is if you're brand new to sewing and you get given an older machine and you take it in and have it serviced, ask them, you know, when you take it in, to say, I would like them to show me how to thread my machine and how to use, you know, the features on that particular machine, and they should be able to show you and tell you. Okay, I'm getting ready to talk to you about bobbins. This particular machine has the bobbin here in the front. So you open it up and it's down under there. Some old Singers has a little plate, you pull it forward, and it doesn't have a bobbin holder like this, it just sets in there, right there. So that's specific to your machine, and you're going to have to read the manual, which you can find most manuals online somewhere, or again, have the person that does the repair work or the adjustments show you how to do that. But for today, I'm going to show you how to wind the bobbin. Okay, remember I told you that I like to use the cone thread with a stand, and I'll show you my setup. I have it on the cone, it comes up and through the stand, and then right where the thread would have sat on the spool right here, I just use a little clip and run the thread through the top of that, okay? So my thread is coming from that spool area here. I go back through those 2 loops on the front, and then every machine that I know of has some sort of tension knob. My tension knob is here for your bobbin winder. You need to have a little bit of tension on your thread as it winds onto the bobbin. So every bobbin has at least 1 hole in it. This is an old Singer bobbin. I don't know if you can see, but there's just 1 hole right there. This one's got holes everywhere, but you start from the inside. You take your thread on the inside of your bobbin and you go out the hole, okay? And you pull your thread out this way. Then it goes on the spool spindle. On my machine, it's right here. And then okay, then you take it and you for this one, you just push it up and the little wheel runs along there. Every one is going to be a little bit different, but the idea is somewhere on your machine, there's a place where you wind your bobbins. Now, you hold on to this and you very slowly get it started and let it wind on a couple of rows. Then you can cut this off. Okay, and then you just continue winding on. Now, you shouldn't try to go just as fast as you can winding your bobbin. You want it to come on so that this goes back and forth nice and evenly. The idea is to have a good, even bobbin with good tension the whole time. So anyway, you just keep winding and winding. Okay, I almost have it full, and you just wind and wind, and then eventually the thread will push on that little thing right there and make it stop. That's when you know it's full. And it's done. Okay, so I wanted to show you how nice that it's on here. If your bobbin ends up winding all the time really unevenly, you need to figure out why. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to show you how to put it in the case for my machine, and I think most of the time when you have a bobbin case like this, this is the way it goes. But I know for this machine and all the ones that I've used like this is how it goes. Now, this bobbin case has a little holder right here. See, lift it up. And when you fully pull that out and hold it like this, it will actually hold your bobbin in place. Okay, see, won't fall out. It actually claws together in there. Okay, so let's look at this closely. Here's my bobbin case. It's going to go in my machine this way. I'm going to turn it up. And if you notice right here, there's a little slot. It goes in and then back up like that. You're going to take your bobbin, and it can go in two ways. You can go with the thread on the top or underneath like this, and it does make a difference. You want to do it so that the thread is coming off over the top to the right that way. It's coming off the top over to the right that way, and here's my little bobbin holder. And I'm going to put it in straight like that. Okay, so it's coming off the top and going that way. Then I'm going to catch it in that little groove, and then I'm going to pull it back. Did you hear that little click? It clicked into place. So it's clicked in under there, because there is little tension springs inside of here, which again is something that they will adjust when you take your machine in. I want to do a side note here. When you're sewing and your machine starts to really mess up, you know, the first thing people try to do is they'll mess with the tension knob, or they'll take a screwdriver out and mess with the tension on here. My tip is replace your needle. We don't replace our needles as often as we should. Some people replace needles after 8 hours of sewing on them. You know, if you happen to have hit a pin or something like that when you're sewing, replace your needle right away, because the least little bit of something going wrong with your needle will cause your machine not to sew well. So if you all of a sudden start having trouble with your machine, don't try adjusting millions of things and getting things all wonky. Replace your needle. Okay, back to the bobbin. All right, so to do this little bar here, not everyone has these little bars, but you figure out which side is up. You hold your little thing, and you just stick it down in there until it kind of clicks into place. And it will look something like that, okay? And you leave a nice long little tail like that. And then you close the lid. So here we are. I just put my bobbin in. This particular machine, the presser foot here has a groove cut in the slit cut in the center, so I can take the thread and go down through the center like that and pull it out to the back. take my flywheel and move it one time, one stitch, okay, and then use something and pull it out, and you see there's my bobbin thread. So before you start to sew, do that one stitch and pull your bobbin thread up, move your stitches, your threads off to the back like that. So that one's ready. There was one more thing that your sewing machine has, and every sewing machine has this, you just have to find out where it is. Okay, when I put down this presser foot, there's a certain amount of pressure being pushed down from the shank right here to the presser foot, pressing against my fabric and those feed dogs, which are going under there that we talked about. This particular machine has this little button right here, and if I push it like that, now I've got the maximum amount of pressure pushing down on that. And then if I go and release it, you see how far it popped up? It's the least amount of pressure pushing on that presser foot. Now, if you are sewing something and it's kind of thick and the top piece is wanting to kind of bubble up as you sew and it's making it go all wonky, release some of the pressure on that presser foot. Most of the time you keep it kind of in the middle, but it's nice to know that you have the ability to adjust the pressure on your presser foot, and that's where that is. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you've learned a couple things. And so until next time, this is Cindy from Vintage to New. Bye.